ECU?
R.
Do you bleed purple and gold? Are you ready to hoist the colors?
Hoist the colors!
It's time for the most in-depth look into the world of ECU athletics. Welcome to Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game. Watch the show live on Facebook and at 943thegame.com. Here's Stephen Igo.
Welcome in. It is Hoist the Colors, Wednesday, September 24th, one day ahead of the Pirates' Thursday night conference opener against the Army Black Knights. It'll be a 7:30 p.m. Eastern kickoff on ESPN. Should be a big day on campus, around campus. Sports Center broadcasting live from Sup Dogs in the afternoon. So I'm sure there'll be a good turnout there. Looking forward to Thursday night. Man, it has been a quick turnaround, but we're ready for it. We are live on YouTube, Facebook, and X. If you got a question, a comment, or a concern, we will get to it over the course of the next hour. We are looking forward to here in a couple of minutes. We're going to try and get Kevin Monroe on the program as he's getting ready to join us. We missed him last week, so looking forward to catching up with Kevin. We'll get his thoughts on the BYU game. Also looking ahead to Army as well. Philip Pilkin back in the 94.3 The Game studio looking to answer that. You can download the podcast version of the show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify if you miss any of it, IBX Media. The app you can download to get this show, the Patrick Johnson Show, the Logan Zone. Philip, that is tonight, correct, because of the Thursday night game?
Yes, we're going 5 to 7 tonight on 94.3 The Game and Talk 96.3.
So you can check out the Logan Zone again tonight on those channels at 5 o'clock. So looking forward to having Coach Logan on. Curious what his reaction will be to the end of the first half against BYU, if he's ever seen anything like that coming off the 1 yard line. I'm sure he'll get that question or get into it himself at some point. And just an overall fascinating matchup here between ECU and Army. Obviously, the option attack is unique. It presents its own challenges. We'll get into 5 keys to victory over the Army Black Knights as this show goes on. Also want to give a shout out the pregame show. We are going to be live in front of Town Bake Tower. The plan is to go from 4 to 6:30. 94.3 The Game pregame show. Philip Pilkin will be hosting. I will be Mike 2 for that event, so looking forward to that. We also are going to have Tim Pernetti, the American Conference Commissioner, on around 5:30. I believe is his time, so he's going to be in town for the game. He'll join us as well, so looking forward to getting Commissioner Pernetti. And if he has any noteworthy things he says and you can't catch the pregame show live, we will try to get to that in the coming days after the game, just to kind of provide an update there. So Pirate 2031, he's in the comments section. He says we are ready for Army. Let's go. Curious to see what the crowd is going to look like Thursday night. I know we spent some time, I'm not going to say ragging on the students, but I would say in a more friendly way, challenging the students on Monday.
I called their rear ends out. I ain't going to try and sugarcoat it. Maybe you challenged them. I called them out.
I was texting with a friend of mine, and he said that, you were going after him pretty hard. But, hey, I do feel like we're former students. We kind of have the right to. And
Dude,
this
I
is
stayed
game,
during
man.
the Scotty Moe days.
Yeah.
Until at least midway through the fourth. I mean, maybe I'd walk out 5 minutes ago when we were down by 35 or something, but I never left at halftime.
Of a 10-point game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I get it. This is their moment. This and the Tulsa Thursday night game. I know Thursday, the Tulsa game will be the official night of the Boneyard. So that'll be their true moment. Which, have you seen the jerseys they're wearing tomorrow, Philip? I know you're anticipating a call from Kevin, so let me know if you get that. But I got to be honest, they're going with the Jolly Roger helmet. They're going with the white pants with purple trim. And they're going with the purple jersey, but not the throwback purple jersey, like the one with the yellow numerals and yellow. It just doesn't look right, man. I don't know if you've seen this. If you go to ECU Football, it was released last night. Because they got the red, white, and blue Jolly Roger. But it just, I don't know. It just doesn't. Something about well, the problem is you have the yellow numerals, and it doesn't exactly match the white
I get
pants.
what you're saying. You should be using white numerals, you think?
Yeah, which is what the modern throwback was designed for. But that's just my opinion. Anyways.
Off topic, but when I opened Twitter, you see what they're going to crap. It went, of course. Right as I open Twitter, it's the same thing. I search ECU football, go back to my home, and it's gone. Are they going to allow the challenge system next year in in Major League Baseball? Is that a thing? Is that what I just
for the balls and strikes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
For two pitches per game, I believe each team will get the chance to use the automatic balls and strikes. So robo-umps are on their way. I was watching the Mariners. They clinched a playoff spot last night. There were at least 10 calls that I wanted reviewed, and I was like, man, this is going to be excellent next year when they're actually able to utilize this. So looking forward to when that is installed. It can't be installed soon enough. I still like the fact you're going to have the human umpire element, but if there's just an egregious miss, it should be fixable, and it finally will be fixable. By the way, we are going to talk about ECU in Major League Baseball. James Giglio might join us later. Either way, we're going to recap Gavin Williams and the Guardians. He's quietly had, not even quietly at this point, he's had a phenomenal season, and he pitched the Guardians to a win last night. So a huge win for the Guardians in that contest, as they are now in first place over the Detroit Tigers. 2 games left remaining in that series. 5 games left on the season, so we'll get into that as we look at the postseason picture and more. So, still waiting on Kevin Monroe here on the show. Philip Pilkin back in 94.3 The Game studio. We'll go ahead and get to our
I'm calling
keys.
him now.
Okay.
Yeah, he said he was
all right. Well, okay. We'll hit up Kevin in a minute, and we'll go to our keys to victory in our next segment as well. So, obviously, when you face a time of possession offense, you're going to have to value the football, and we'll get into all that in that conversation. Does ECU have any sort of advantage on a short week? Blake Harrell is saying that they do. We'll get into that later in the program as well. All right, I think we got Kevin Monroe, ECU Sports Network analyst, on the phone. Kevin, appreciate you hopping on and joining us, man. We'll start with the BYU game, just your overall thoughts on that contest, as Pirates hung tough for a while and some glaring mistakes obviously came back to bite them.
Yeah, hey, I think you're right on it. The end of the first half, I think for every Pirate fan and person in the media watching, you could kind of tell the game kind of get flipped on its head at that point. I could even do with the interception that we threw in the end zone, that Hauser threw in the end zone. You're still down 6-3 at that point. You come out and you get a stop, but then the 2 plays after that, the muff punt by Kyler. Trying to catch the ball down back by the end zone, muffs that punt, makes a poor decision there, and then what transpires from there is really just kind of unexplainable. And shortly after the game, Coach Harrell talks about the play and says that Hauser kind of checked into a play or saw something that was probably not there. But my whole thing, as we said on the air, was you have the ball on your own 1 yard line. With 59 seconds to go, the opposing team has 1 timeout, which means they can only stop the clock 1 time. You have really no chance of taking the ball 99 yards in 59 seconds. So all you're trying to do is just get out of the back of your own end zone and get to halftime. So get under center, run 2 quarterback sneaks, let them call timeout 1 time, and you're jogging off the field. Like that should have been the play call. There should have been no opportunity for Caton to make a check or to see something like that. At that point in the game, it should not be in his hands to make that decision. Poor decision on his part, but also I think from the staff, you don't even give him that decision to make. So he throws the pick 6. Now you're down 13-3. Obviously, you're still very into the game. It's only down 10. But I'm just saying the game never seemed the same after that. They were doing a good job. The Pirates were doing a good job against the BYU run in the first half. They did less of a good job against it in the second half. But also give credit to BYU and their staff. They made some adjustments. Bear Bachmeier throws the ball 25 times in this game. He'd only thrown the ball 38 times all season coming in. So they saw something in the way that we were playing them defensively in the first half. They made a change. They started hitting open receivers, and we never seemed to adjust and get that figured out. So that's not a 21-point game to me. I think that the game was much closer than the score ended up. And I think that the BYU fans would probably say that the Pirates were the toughest team they played to this point. With the exception of maybe what happened in the fourth quarter. But it was a tough way to lose. If you considered yourself, you consider this a game that the Pirates would probably lose coming into the season. After seeing it play out, you're a little bit frustrated after that one.
Kevin Monroe with the ECU Sports Network analyst. And, I wanted to go back to that playoff to 1 because I am with you, Kevin. I feel like, obviously, Caton took ownership of it. I do think ultimately, though, like, as a coach, you have to step in and be like, all right, under no circumstance are we throwing the ball here. Like, you got to get the half.
Yeah.
So I don't know if maybe it goes back to they just did not feel comfortable getting under center and doing a sneak because maybe they haven't practiced it enough. But I don't know. I feel like that's obviously got to be something you practice now, coming off the 1 yard line. I've seen them rep that in practice. I guess maybe they didn't trust that they could snap it. I don't know. It's just odd.
Well, and someone was like, put Mike Wright in a situation, but my thing is he's probably not used to taking a bunch of snaps either, especially under center. But I did see them run a play or two under center later in the game. I think they ran almost like an option look or something. They ran a play under center, and I was like, well, okay, well, this is obviously something they practiced this week. Because once they got in the shotgun, it's like so many things could go wrong there. Like you get in the shotgun, you try to hand it off to the running back, he gets tackled in the end zone for a safety, or the ball gets bad snap or gets fumbled or whatever. Like you have to go under center in that scenario. And I think you're right. I think they just didn't feel comfortable doing it backed up that way. But all he needed to do was is to not get tackled in the end zone. And I thought they could have gotten that done, but they decided not to do it that way.
Kevin Monroe with us, ECU Sports Network analyst. Pirates will turn their attention to Army. We'll talk about that here in a couple of minutes. But just curious, Kevin, this offense, we went into the season with such high expectations, and it feels like we still haven't seen them click yet. It kind of reminds me of early last year. Maybe it's a feel thing. I think we all thought it would kind of happen right away just given what was coming back. But what are you seeing out of the offense right now? It just seems like the flow's not there. Some of that, of course, is a credit to BYU being an extremely good defensive team. But even through 4 games now, it just seems a little off.
It does seem a little off. And I've been on record as saying I think the defense has carried us to this point. Through the first couple of games, they've just been, the defense has been really, really good since the second half of the state game. And for whatever reason, I think Hauser has looked really good up until this game. He made some uncharacteristic decisions and some throws in this game to give people kind of pause. I work in the Triangle, so I get to hear from state fans and Carolina fans all the time. And I had a Carolina fan, actually a former Carolina player, say to me at work, man, I loved Hauser going into this game. Like, I was wondering if Carolina would try to get him at some point because, he's just running your offense so well. And he's like, I was at this BYU game, and it was like a different quarterback. And so, yeah, I don't know what the difference was. Maybe it was the look that BYU was giving, maybe that big front. But I feel like the offensive line has done a good job in pass protection, keeping guys off of Hauser. They've not done a good job in run blocking. And coaches come out and said that both London and Parker have missed some cuts they should have made, cutting back this way, hitting the hole this way. So maybe there's been some things there that the backs aren't seeing that, that Rajay and Keaton and guys in the past would have seen. That could be part of it. But the run game is just not there. When the run game's not there, you feel that pressure to throw the ball every down. And that pressure can be daunting. It can be anxiety filled because now you've got, do we throw short? Do we throw deep? Do we throw intermediate? How often do we throw? And so I think if we can get the run game going, if there can be a breakout game, and honestly, this was one of the better, games early on for running. You have the big 39-yard run by London, I think it was, down the sideline. That's obviously the biggest play that's happened against BYU so far this year on the ground. So at times they showed bits and pieces of it, but until that run game is electric, where they can just line up and run the ball 10, 12 times in a row and be successful at it, that's going to hold this offense back. I think that's the key, because I think the different receivers have stepped up at different times. This wasn't Anthony Smith's game, this one, but the last 2 he played well. Brock Spalding's had a couple good ones. Yannick Smith's had a couple good ones. So I think as a receiving core, they can get it done, but they need that run game to come alongside of them.
ECU 2-2 through 4 non-conference games. I think most people, realistically, if you looked at the odds, all that, would have said, like, that's kind of what you expect coming out of this. And, you kind of got here maybe a different way than we all expected. But specifically, the defense playing so well, and you hit on it. So how would you grade the defensive performance through 4 games, the non-conference slate, with Blake Harrell and Josh Aldridge right now?
Listen, maybe in prior years under Harrell, since we were just so comfortable with him having a good defense, maybe we'd say they're doing pretty good, whatever. But this season, considering a brand new defensive coordinator, considering they lost 8 or 9 guys off of last year's starting team, I think they're doing phenomenal. Like that, this defense looks great to me. They gave up a couple big plays in the state game in the first half. Then they shut the door there, only gave up 7 more points in that game. Really not very many other big plays. And you saw what they did through Campbell and Coastal Carolina. In the first half of this BYU game, I mean, yeah, BYU moved the ball a little bit in between the 20s, but they shut the door in the red zone. They didn't give up any touchdowns in the first half. They were playing big-time football. They let it get away from them a little bit in the second half. Bear Bachmeier got a couple of quarterback draws, one for a touchdown. That was big. L.J. Martin finally got greased up and got a couple of nice runs. They completed some passes. But that was all stuff that you expected BYU to be able to do against most defenses. They've done that all year long. But in total, I think this defense has been an A. They've been an A grade. There's no superstars in this defense. I mean, you can look at Jamali Riddle and say this guy's going to be, an NFL player one day, or he's going to be a star, all American Conference player, and he probably will be. But he's still young. Tegan Wilk, being kind of the old veteran, likes to come up and hit. He's the guy he's like the stalwart back there. You got Lampley and Craig up front. A couple of the linebackers are coming to their own, but there's no stars. These guys, it's a collective group of guys that are playing well together for the most part. There was some letdown there in that BYU game, but through the majority of the quarters this season, I give them an A grade.
Kevin Monroe with us, ECU Sports Network analyst, looking ahead to Army on Thursday. Always a challenge to get ready for an option team. Kevin, you know that. Can you imagine doing it on a short week? How does ECU try and approach this thing?
Listen, I know there was a huge sigh coming from Aldridge and Harrell when they saw this schedule come out, because that's just ridiculous to have to play Army or Navy or one of these triple option teams on a short week. I'm assuming based on that, sometime over the summer in preseason, sometimes in these weeks where they have felt good about an opponent, maybe during the Campbell week, maybe they spent a day working on Army stuff because they felt confident in what they had going on that Saturday. But they snuck in some days at some point to get caught up here. But it helps that both Aldridge and Harrell have some background with the triple option. Either they've played on teams that have run it, or they've played against a ton of teams that have run it, and they've had to prepare for it a bunch of times. The last couple times, take last year out of it, because I think that quarterback was just a phenomenal player, and I think our team was just in such a weird spot last year that we weren't playing very well as a collective unit. And that quarterback, he was just phenomenal. Outside of that, I think that in recent years the Pirates have played good against this Army offense. I expect to see that come back. I expect them to be, a force up front defensively and to smother this Army offensive line and to make it tough on this newer quarterback to make his decisions, dive man, pitch man, keep it himself. He's been effective. They're averaging 300 yards a game, but they've also, been spotty. Losing to Tarleton State, I don't really understand that at all. A tough game against North Texas, but then they go to Kansas State and win that game. And I didn't see that game on television not to see what Kansas State, where they went wrong. So certainly this is a team that can come and beat you, but I do expect the Pirates to be ready. But the short week is concerning, and hopefully they've had time to get some days in there in between that.
Last thing for Kevin Monroe, we kind of discussed on, I believe, Tuesday's show just how much of a swing game this is for both teams, but certainly for ECU if they win it. You go to the bye week feeling so good, then you have the Tulane game, and then your schedule softens up a little. If you lose it, all of a sudden, I don't want to say panic sets in, but it obviously gets a lot tougher. So just how important is it? Doesn't really matter how you do it, but just find a way to win Thursday night. What would that mean for the rest of the season?
I think it's huge. You sit with 2 wins, that'll be your 3rd win, and then you got to find a way to win 3 more games at some point in the season just to get bowl eligible. I think that's the goal for Pirate fans coming into every season is to be bowl eligible. I think we'd love to get to that point where we're feeling like competing for a conference championship, but we're not there yet. So it's just getting bowl eligible in consecutive years. But you've got teams. Tulane has a nice win over Duke. Tulsa's playing well. Memphis has a win over Arkansas. So there's teams later in your schedule that make things look like, okay, that's a tougher game than you thought it might have been. So there is some concern that this conference schedule doesn't really get easy per se. It does lighten up based on what they've played over the last few. But I do think this Army game is a big one because it just kind of sets the stage for the back half of the year.
He is Kevin Monroe. Check him out on the ECU Sports Network. He'll be on the call this Thursday inside Dowdy Ficklen Stadium with Jim Szoke. Kevin, appreciate the time, man. We'll see you on Thursday.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it. I go.
Absolutely. That's Kevin Monroe, ECU Sports Network analyst, former ECU defensive back as well. All right, we'll get a break in. We'll come back. Philip Pilkington and I will give our keys to a Pirate victory on Thursday night. That and more after this.
The team of Flatlands Jessup is working overtime to help ensure that Eastern North Carolinians like you get the health insurance help you need this open enrollment period. New legislation passed meaning more people than ever qualify for affordable coverage. Let us help you today.
Big tax credits are back. Get a 30% tax credit, up to $2,000 off your new Mitsubishi electric heat pump install. Let Comfort Master help you take advantage of the tax credits with a qualifying Mitsubishi electric ducted heat pump or non-ducted Mitsubishi electric mini splits. Mitsubishi electric mini splits are ideal for bonus rooms, garages, or sunrooms. If you need a new HVAC unit, call Comfort Master today.
Call Comfort Master. Call Comfort Master.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Healthwise Pharmacy rounds the bases with all of your infusion, retail, compounding, and medical equipment needs. Locally owned and operated by pharmacist Marcy Parker, Healthwise has grown to be your most trusted provider for infusion services. Currently providing in-home or on-site infusions in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. Visit Healthwise Pharmacy at 615B South Memorial Drive or call 252-295-0059 to speak to a patient service representative to find the option that best suits your needs.
Tired of the 1-800 numbers advertising Medicare products? Flatlands Jessup has 6 offices all throughout Eastern North Carolina. Get face-to-face help from our local award-winning licensed team. Stop by today. Flatlands Jessup, your whole world covered.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers does real burgers better than anybody. And don't forget about the cheese sticks, fresh salads, and more. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, burgers and sports at its best.
Go Pirates! Arg!
In this age of globalization, we've learned that bigger isn't always better. Ever tried to get phone help from a big corporation from a real person? Right. That's what's so nice about Phelps Chevrolet. After more than 50 years serving our community, Phelps remains family-owned and operated. Mike, Daryl, Wave, West, Alan, and Clay deliver hometown service and integrity, same as always. They share your experience, they share your values, and they are ready to help with any motoring need. Come get you one.
Climb aboard as we set sail and hoist the colors.
Arr, matey!
Back to the show with Steve and I go on 94.3 The Game.
Welcome back in. Hoist the colors. The day before a Thursday night game, ECU will be hosting Army. Let's get into our keys to the game now. Philip Pilkington back in the 94.3 The Game studios. We also got some comments I want to read. We'll get James Giglio on here, our next segment as well. Biggest key to the game. I feel like this is an obvious one, but ECU never does it against an option team for whatever reason. And North Texas did it and still almost lost, but there's a bunch of caveats. Start fast. And now Army, I was listening to their coordinator press conference. They want to start fast because they've been starting slow. They turned the ball over 3 of their first, I think, 4 possessions maybe, which led to a North Texas 21-0 lead. But typically when you get them behind the 8 ball, that throws them out of sync. They're not able to hit the explosive plays or you guard against it, and they can kind of get out of rhythm. So ECU as a team needs to start faster, especially on offense. So that kind of goes with what they need to do, and I think that helps. And here's another question, and Philip, you can give your key right after you answer this, but do you defer or receive the opening kick? Because I kind of like doubling up against an option team if possible, but then it goes against potentially starting fast if you defer.
Yeah, the tough thing is if they have a 10, 12-minute drive to start. But the worst thing you want to do is get doubled up, right? You do not want to be in a situation where they score to go up 10-7 or something, and then all of a sudden you look up and you're 3 minutes into the second half or 5 minutes into the second half, and it's 17-7. I think that's a really tough place to be in. So I would defer personally. I usually don't say receive. There are a few times, few exceptions maybe, that I feel that way. But for this one, just go out there. You're at home, night game. Hopefully there'll be some decent energy in the crowd, even though I don't expect a big turnout. I think the ones who do show up will have some energy. Let the team go out there and be on defense first. Try and get an early stop. I mean, heck, they've started slow too. So maybe let them go ahead and make a mistake early. Give yourself an opportunity in a short field.
One of my other keys to the game is, and another good write-up by Bobby Howard on Thursday, or for Thursday's game up on the site today. Army plays a lot of coverage. They will rarely blitz, and they will at times, but it's going to be a lot, again, on Caton Hauser to diagnose what happens post-snap. And so Caton's got to bounce back with a good game, and then ECU also has to make the routine play and stop false starting. You cannot false – if you're going to play a team that just basically you have to nickel and dime, you cannot put yourself behind the chains. You have to stay ahead of the chains. You do that, you're going to be in pretty good shape. I'm fine taking the 4 to 5 yard run in this game. I'm fine taking the hitch over the middle to the tight end, to the slot guy for 4 or 5 yards. Hopefully break some tackles. Army missed a lot of tackles in the game against North Texas, which led to some explosive plays. So make them prove they can tackle your athletes, make the routine play, catch the balls, no drops, and hopefully on top of that, finish in the red zone, because if you're able to moderately drive your way down the field, then you got to finish with touchdowns instead of field goals. Johnny Robertson with the stat. He says ECU needs to be more productive in the red zone. They're the only team in the nation to fail to score in the red zone more than 5 times. The Pirates are 18 of 25. By comparison, North Texas is 26 of 27. So finish those with touchdowns. Philip, you got any keys?
Yeah, I definitely like what you're talking about there. Just, short stuff over the middle. Get the ball in the hands of your playmakers. I want to see some playmakers make plays. We've talked about the lack of explosive, and yeah, part of that's because we're not pushing the ball down the field. Part of that's because we haven't really turned any short little drag routes into anything special. Like, I don't know. It's felt, I guess maybe the second half against Coastal might have been a little better. I didn't get to see a lot of the Coastal game. But it was just like last week, the offense just kind of felt out of sequence. So I'd like to see more of that. But, I guess you kind of hit on all the offensive ones. So I'll go to the defensive ones. Eye discipline, baby. Know your keys. Know where you're supposed to go. Most plays are going to be positive plays for the offense, and that's fine. But if you, do what you're supposed to do, have eye discipline, don't get caught napping, don't allow the big explosive play on the other end, you should be in a good spot.
Robert Dedrick says either cut down on the penalties or play 4 complete quarters. Haven't done that yet in any game. And 100%. Johnny Stats saying again, the Pirates have had 37 penalties on the season for an average of 70.5 yards per game. Army has committed 8 penalties on the season for an average of 20 yards per game. So they've committed 2 penalties a game. Or I guess they've only played 3 games. So but still a little over 2 penalties per game. ECU, far more than that. And I just know, watching these games against the service academies, it feels like the refs will let them get away with a little more. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because it's Army and Navy in the American Conference, but I just see them get away with a lot of holds and at times just some, I'm not going to say dirty play, but some plays that could be called penalties.
Yeah,
so
they do.
You just got to be disciplined in this. If you play like you did against BYU with the penalties and turnovers, man, you are 100% going to lose again.
Yeah, I think so. And, I can't remember who it was. Was it Robert that said something about haven't played 4 complete quarters yet?
Yeah.
Yeah, yep. To Robert's point there, we haven't played 4 complete quarters, but I think we've played 3 twice. And that was week 1 and week 3. So this team has proven that they can do it for majority of the game, but when you play a service academy, when you play an option team, majority of the game ain't going to be good enough. It's going to have to be the entirety of the game. And I think that's part of the reason the stuff's so tough. Everybody says, option teams are tough to beat. I think option teams are tough to beat because you psych yourself out about the whole situation, and then you don't play 4 complete quarters. It's not necessarily that they tend to beat you. A lot of times you tend to beat yourself when you play against these option teams, and I think it can be mentally draining. And it does seem like every time ECU plays an option team, something weird happens. We had Holton's false COVID test, missed field goal
Rigged.
1 year. Yeah, just crazy stuff. So hopefully we're done with all the crazy stuff. Hopefully Caton Hauser doesn't falsely test positive for COVID on Friday. We're playing today.
And Navy, they get a bye before playing ECU. This time Army, they get a short week too, and they got to travel, but I'd much rather be the option team in this scenario. Let's I'll tell you what. Jones Bones wants us to do a breakdown of how our off-season acquisitions have fared. Jones, let's save that for next week. That'll be a good bye-week show. We can dive into each transfer portal edition.
Because I think we can do a whole show. That actually sounds like a whole show, not a one-segment deal.
You know what we can do? We could do that and where all the guys who have left, how they're doing. So let's do that for next week during the bye. So we'll do that. Keep the comments coming. Let's go ahead and get a break in. That way we can get James Giglio on the show. He has some things he wants to say after attending the BYU game as a fan. We'll get his take on that. We'll also dive into Major League Baseball. We got to look at Gavin Williams, his tremendous outing last night. The Guardians surge, the Tigers' epic collapse. We'll discuss that and more. This is Hoist the Colors on a Wednesday.
Storm season is approaching. North Carolina weather can damage your roof, and before long, a small leak can turn into a big problem. Your home is one of your biggest investments, so protect it with Wells Home Improvements.
We work with all insurance companies for a hassle-free roof installation experience. Call us today and get 10% off your roof installation when you mention this commercial.
252-227-8403 or visit us online at wellshomeimprovements.com. Wells Home Improvements. Local, honest, dependable.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human. About creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leyva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be your trusted choice agency.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes, just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown. At National Finance, we're all about hometown support, just like ECU football. National Finance helps us win on and off the field. They've got your back when you need it most. Fast, easy personal loans for life's big plays. And just like us, they're committed to Eastern North Carolina. National Finance, proud supporters of ECU athletics. Visit nfcmoney.com for loans as fast as today.
Pirates play here. Arr! This is Hoist the Colors Radio with Stephen Igo.
Yes! That was so good!
On 94.3, The Game.
All right, welcome back in. Hoist the Colors, one day out from ECU Army. Again, we'll have our regular show tomorrow at 12 noon, and then our pregame show from 4 to 6:30 on 94.3 The Game. We're live right now on this Wednesday. We've got Philip Pilkington in the 94.3 The Game studios. We have James Giglio, fresh out of class, fresh off taking a test. James, how'd the test go? And welcome back to the show, by the way.
Yeah, test was definitely harder than I thought it was going to be. It was a lot of writing. and I thought it was multiple choice, so my hand definitely hurts right now.
Writing instead of multiple choice. That's tough.
A lot of 3-sentence answers, a lot of that.
Oh yeah, those are never fun. Well, keep going through it, man. You're almost there. Your junior year, so you still got some time, but you're well on your way. All right. I know you had some things to get off your chest from the BYU game. I did want to address a few comments first before we get to that. Hunter Corbett wants to know, has JDB been coaching from the sidelines this season? He has been, Hunter. Kenny Curlin says Jaquez Petaway has turned into Petahoo. Yeah, he is. He had 5 snaps, didn't do a whole lot. We'll see if he gets more into the game plan. I am curious. 4 games in, he has a redshirt available. Is he? I don't know. We're not at practice, but is he still going to play this thing out? We'll find out against Army. And then Garrett says, did y'all see any body language or signs of upset with play calling from Hauser? I haven't seen – he wears his emotions on the sleeve while he's playing, but I have not seen anything to that nature. But that's just from my observations. I don't know if y'all have anything to add there. But
I don't know. I was stuck in the studio, so.
Yeah, I just think he was more frustrated with how the game played out more than anything. All right, James Giglio, you attended the game. It was family weekend, parents weekend, whatever it's called. How did it go from your perspective?
Well, the pregame festivities were great. Obviously, tailgating's a lot of fun. Family weekend was obviously a lot of fun. The flyover was really cool. The fireworks were really cool. Only thing missing was the actual gameplay on the field, right? I'm not going to say it was a terrible performance overall. I think the ECU defense came to play, especially in that first half, right? They were keeping the crowd in it. They got that big fourth down stop. They were holding the momentum. Offense just really wasn't backing them up, and I thought it was a really, really bad and embarrassing night from Caden Hauser, John David Baker, Anthony Smith. He had 2 bad drops. You really dive into it. Caden Hauser, or first play of the game, ECU gets a long kick return. They're marching on the first drive of the game. They're in BYU territory. We're looking at a 3rd and 1. We're opening drive of the game. Caden Hauser drops the snap, right? And that turns into a 4th and 5. I didn't like Blake Carroll's decision to go for it on that 4th and 5. I think he maybe was playing a little too much into what the crowd wanted at the time. I could have seen it either way. Nonetheless, I think he punt there. Anyway, they drop the snap on 4th and 5. They don't get it. BYU still comes down and gets a field goal. Then kind of nothing happens. Defense is playing well. ECU now has the ball. We're marching down. And Hauser throws a terrible interception on the goal line, right? So this is his second mistake of the game. And, what are we doing, right? He's missing throws. He didn't look good in the first half of the Coastal game. Anthony Smith is dropping passes. There's procedural penalties, which is on coaching, by the way. And I didn't like the play calling from John David Baker. And then what's also on coaching is when you have Kyler Pearson, who's been good this year for ECU, he doesn't call a fair catch, and he gets destroyed. The ball bounces to the 1. ECU somehow recovers it. And if you're Kyler Pearson, you got to know where you're at on the field. You got to know the situation. Got to know the time left. But also, the coach has got to tell you that, right? He's got to know. The coach has got to tell him to call a fair catch in that situation. To me, that's on coaching. And Pearson's mistake led to a Hauser pick 6 and more points for BYU. And when that happened, the game was over to me.
It's one of those things that I've kind of been thinking. Like the running game is struggling so much, and it did look better at times against BYU, which we touched on. But so much is on Caden to make the RPO decision in this offense, James. So I wonder, is he pressing at this point to try to make stuff happen instead of just letting the offense come to him? Maybe that's part of it, because we know Caden, and not every quarterback's gonna have a great game every time out, but we know what he can do when the offense is humming. Is that a factor?
Yeah, that definitely could be a factor, right? The ECU run game has not been good, and it was a different animal versus BYU. Their D-line is legit. Those big boys up there for them are really good. They're a lot different than Campbell and Coastal, and our offensive line was struggling to move Campbell and Coastal, so they were getting no movement versus BYU. So I think it definitely plays a large factor, and he definitely tries to force stuff and make something out of nothing. I think if he can eliminate that factor, he can end up being a really great quarterback and taking that next step. But I didn't see that a lot. I didn't see that step in the BYU game. I didn't see it in the first half of Coastal. But I think that does play a large factor.
All right, Kenny Curlin's in the chat. He says they haven't watched Army play the season at all. What are their weaknesses? Can we run or throw on them? They play pretty soft coverage. They do play a lot of coverages, but it's a lot of coverage in terms of they don't bring a lot of guys on blitzes. They bring pretty traditional blitzes when they do. It's a kind of nickel and dime your way down the field. They want to prevent the explosive plays. So that's kind of the game plan you're looking at here, which is similar to what Coastal did So hopefully ECU can draw back on that. I don't know. What are your thoughts on Army, James, going into Thursday night?
Yeah, I mean, those service academy schools are just so weird, right? I mean, I've been here for 3 years. We have never beaten a service academy since I've been here. Last year, lost to Army. No, we didn't. Yeah, we lost to Army and Navy last year. I was in attendance for the Navy game, and Army ended up being Mike Houston's last game. I think it's a short week. Army beat Kansas State, who has definitely been disappointing this year. I think it's going to be a very difficult game coming off the short week versus BYU. And this is definitely the toughest stretch of the year coming up for ECU because you got Tulane coming up as well on the road.
I want to ask you this, James. Philip and I don't want to say we attacked the students. Philip says he may have. We were not a fan of the students leaving so early at halftime. And it was a boring game, but it was 13-3. I don't know. Do you feel like the student the attendance is good? How do we get you and your fellow brethren to stay as fans? I don't know. Is it possible?
I think it is definitely possible. I think if ECU is winning that game at halftime, Hauser doesn't throw the pick on the goal line, and there's no pick six debacle, I think a lot of the fans stay. I think while it was a 10-point game, it was clear to me when going into halftime, I don't remember who I told, but I was like, this game's over, right? It's definitely hard, and I think Family Weekend makes it a little harder because, it was 10:30, the bars are opening up. A lot of parents just want to go out to the town, right? A lot of kids just want to go out and party. So, at the end of the day, we're losing to BYU. A lot of hype was going into the game, and it's been an embarrassing showing in the first half from the offense. I'm not entirely mad about them leaving, but it would be nice for them to stay. Although I do see why a lot of them would have left.
James just doesn't want to get beat up on the way to class tomorrow. That's the only reason he's saying that.
I stayed. Well,
your dad. I talked to your dad yesterday. He told me you guys stayed till the end of the third quarter at least.
Yeah, we were there we weren't there halfway in the fourth quarter, but we were there the first 3 quarters for sure.
Okay.
But it was
and that's when the game was over. Yeah,
at that point
that's
it's
when the
over.
game was over.
But
we didn't leave
second
at halftime though.
Yeah.
But the second half started, and it was coming up to bar opening time. And like I said, a lot of those parents are here to go out to the bar.
Well, then the bars will be there every day of the week, 365 days a year. You only get a Big 12 team in here once.
You only get Family Weekend once.
They can come back. Would they stand at the edge of Greenville with shotguns? No parents can enter town. It ain't Family Weekend. Get the hell out of here.
Man, I just hate that. That's probably the last time, at least in a while, you're going to get a Big 12 team in, and I just feel like ECU didn't capitalize on it first on the field, and then I think that was a big reason why. And I wrote in my post game that it wasn't over at halftime, but it felt over, so I get it too. Even though I still wish they would have stayed. But yeah, frustrating result. Pirates lose to BYU. They'll try to bounce back versus Army, which by the way, James will be covering that game for us in the box along with Peyton Brady. So looking forward to the Hoist the Colors crew tomorrow. I tell you what, guys, let's go ahead and get a break in, and then we'll come back. We'll talk MLB. We'll lead with Gavin Williams, his significant outing for the Guardians. We'll get into James's Yankees, Phillips Red Sox. The wild card races are heating up. There's only 5 games left. We'll tell you the ECU players involved. Alec Burleson had a game-winning hit last night against the Giants as well. So we'll hit on all that. MLB, Pirates, and the Pros after this. Hoist the Colors on Wednesday.
It's time to soak up the savings at Greenville Toyota. Summer is here with hot deals on a great selection of new Toyotas, like a Corolla, $189 a month, or Tacoma, $279 a month. Soak up the savings at Greenville Toyota.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro-adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Daughtridge Gas and Oil has been your dependable propane supplier for 95 years. Their trained technicians can service and properly install all your propane and natural gas appliances. Plus, Daughtridge Gas and Oil is your backyard expert with fire pits, grills, smokers, and more, including quality outdoor furniture at their Greenville Patio and Hearth Shop at 1901 Charles Boulevard. Go by and see the knowledgeable staff at Daughtridge Gas and Oil for propane delivery or call 756-1345.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville, we've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked-to-order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
My hair is definitely a reflection of who I am. Wild, fun, fiery for sure.
It just goes with the flow.
Me and my hair, both untamable.
I wear it how I feel.
Feel fearless.
Feel empowered. Look fantastic.
Look fantastic.
Look fantastic. Feel unstoppable.
Unstoppable.
The sun is out, and so are the deals at Greenville Toyota. Soak up the savings on a hot selection of new Toyotas, like a Camry, $229 a month, or RAV4, $289 a month. Soak up the savings at Greenville Toyota.
In the world of ECU athletics. This is Hoist the Colors with Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game.
Welcome back in. Final segment here. Wanted to save some time to talk about Pirates and the pros. We've got Philip Pilkington and James Giglio with us to close out this Wednesday's show. And guys, Gavin Williams has had a phenomenal year, former Pirate, of course. We talked about him, all throughout the season, but he is continuing the trend upwards. And last night gave up a couple runs, but 12 strikeouts against the Detroit Tigers in a huge game. If you haven't been following baseball, the Tigers have just absolutely thrown up all over themselves. They had a 15.5 game lead at one point in the division. The Guardians are now tied for first, and they have the tiebreaker. So if the season ended today, the Guardians would win the division. They play 2 more in the coming days. There's 5 games left in the regular season. But Gavin Williams, phenomenal, 12 Ks. He left. He was actually done with a 2-0 deficit, and then the Guardians scored 3 runs in the inning before he departed. So he officially got the win. But, Philip, I know you watched some of the game. We'll start with you, Gavin. This Guardian story is honestly hard to believe, but Gavin is a major reason why they're in it right now.
He is. They've beaten Scooball twice in the last 5 days. They beat him last Thursday afternoon, and they beat him again last night. Gavin was in a situation where this game really could have got out of hand. He pitched himself into a tough situation with the bases loaded, less than 2 outs. I can't remember what inning it was. It was either the 3rd or the 4th. I was watching the Sox game more than I was watching that game. And not that I was pulling against Gavin, but the Sox needed Cleveland to lose. So I was kind of hoping things didn't go his way there. And I think he got actually, I want to say it might have been bases loaded, no outs. I think he got a pair of strikeouts and a lazy pop-up. And he was just unfazed by the situation. He looked like a true ace. I don't think he's quite got the ERA right now, because the ERA is still in the mid-3s of a guy that you would consider like a true ace. But he's on his way to there. His stuff is getting better and better every year. And like I said, just his composure on the mound. That's what an ace does. When he's in a tough situation, backs against the wall, he goes out there and attacks hitters because he knows he's better. And I think Gavin Williams is building that confidence in himself. He's been a huge part of this. He's been the most consistent arm in their rotation. I was talking to Zoki about it the other day. I can't remember if this was on the radio or off, but he said really that's been our most consistent guy. He's a Cleveland fan, so they really like him up there.
The crazy thing is I had Gavin Williams in fantasy baseball, and he got off to such a rough start that I dropped him. And then ever since I dropped him, he's been money. And you're welcome, Gavin. Yeah, you're welcome, Gavin. Because my fantasy baseball team is horrible. So once he got away from the Seattle Smash, he was good to go. But he's had a phenomenal year. He had 12-5, 3.06 ERA, and 173 Ks in 167 innings. So he has been phenomenal. And the other side of this, James, I don't know if y'all saw the Scooble meltdown in that inning. He tried to hike a ball through his legs, like with the season on the line. He tried to field a bunt and snap it between his legs. They lose. They've lost 7 in a row. I mean, what is going on in Detroit, James?
I mean, I honestly don't know. The only reason they are being saved right now is because there's another meltdown going on in Houston, right? I mean, they had a huge lead, and they all of a sudden they look like they're not going to make the playoffs, and then Cleveland and Detroit are both going to make the playoffs. Houston can't beat the Athletics right now for some reason. So, I mean, I'd rather Cleveland make the playoffs over Houston and for the Yankees' sake. But what's going on in Detroit? I mean, I don't know. You see the frustration out there. I saw a video. I think it was Kerry Carpenter just slamming a bat after getting struck out. That's been kind of the mood in Detroit. I think the Tigers, Mets, and Astros are all ready for the season to be over.
Real quick, I do want to say congratulations. Your Mariners clinched playoff berth last night with a come from behind win over the Rockies. Big 3-run blast there in the 8th.
Josh Naylor is the GOAT. I love that dude. Yeah, Seattle's second playoff appearance in the last 24 years. Yeah, so it's been a hard time, and they can clinch the West with the win tonight for the first time since 2001.
Magic number. All you got to do is win one more game or have the Stros lose one more game.
And if you look at FanGraphs, they sort it by World Series winner odds, and the Mariners are somehow at the top. So
wow.
The FanGraphs loves the Mariners. We'll see how it plays out. But, yeah, the Tigers, man, what a collapse. The Astros, what a collapse. The Mets, as James hit on. Now, they did win last night in Chicago. And
they beat the good Chicago team, by the way. Not the crappy one.
Like the Yankees beat up. The Yankees have clinched as well. So the Blue Jays, Mariners, and Yankees all have a playoff spot wrapped up. Now the Blue Jays have kind of slipped a little bit, James. They're only one up on the Yankees. Now remind me, who has the tiebreaker? Are you still hoping for a division title here?
Yeah, definitely still hoping for a division title, but Toronto holds the tiebreaker, so we need to get a game ahead of them or half game ahead of them.
You pulling for the Red Sox tonight?
I did last night. I'm going to tonight, and I'm going to tomorrow, Tuesday through Thursday. We're Red Sox fans.
Wow, I didn't think you'd word it that way. I just thought you said, well, I'm pulling harder against the Blue Jays instead of we're Red Sox fans. Welcome to the club, James. Happy to have you on board.
1-0 so far as a Red Sox fan.
There you go.
Yeah.
Never lost. You like LeVar Ball.
2 more against Toronto, and then they finished with the Tigers, right, Philip? So, they still have a lot to play for.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's not an easy thing. And with Detroit going in a game ahead of Cleveland last night, I was just hoping Detroit was just going to take care of business and find the way out of this hole and sweep Cleveland, because Boston does have the tiebreaker over Cleveland. They don't have to play Cleveland, just kind of get Detroit where they're locked in a 3 seed. So it was actually in Boston's best interest for Detroit to win last night. That unfortunately didn't happen. So I stayed up and watched mostly the A's game, but I flipped over to your game, sporadically when that was on a commercial. I go. So hopefully the Stros continue to flounder, and the Sox got crochet tonight against a washed Max Scherzer. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, the Hunter adding in the chat that the Houston Astros have had way too many injuries to cover. That's why they've been falling late. Yeah, I got to be honest. As much as I hate the Astros and I enjoyed the Mariners going in there and taking their soul from them, they are incredible. Like when they lost Jordan in that Rangers series, I was like, they're not going to recover from this, because they're just not, like, the Mariners are the better team, and they finally went in there and actually won. As a result, usually they go in there and choke.
Those final 2 outs happened Saturday, I felt like just took any life they had left out of them.
That was the, we'll see if they can respond. They had the A's and the Angels, whereas like the Red Sox and Tigers actually face tests. But at this point, Astros can't even beat the A's, as James said. The NL picture, obviously, you got the Brewers, Phillies. The Dodgers lead is down to, I think, just a game over the Padres. Yeah, so we'll see what happens there. Can the Diamondbacks or Reds steal this spot from the Mets, the final wildcard spot? What do you think, James?
I don't think so. I think the Mets. Obviously the Mets are the better team. The Reds have not been able to win a clutch game, right? They got swept by the A's. The A's are just, giant killers right now. They got swept by the A's when they had a real chance to capitalize, and I think the only reason why the Reds are even in this picture is because of how bad the Mets collapse has been. The Diamondbacks, however, on the other hand, they've been heating up, but their last 5 games are 2 more against the Dodgers, and then their last 3 are against San Diego. So 2 playoff teams there.
Yeah, so a lot to play out here over these final 5 days. And obviously we hit on it a little bit. I think it was last week. Obviously, we know that Jeff Hoffman will be a part of the Blue Jays postseason roster. We will find out about Trey Savage. He looked okay in his second start, not quite as good. But we also still have the odds have since evened up on the Cal Raleigh Aaron Judge MVP debate, too. Since we last discussed it, James, it's now, I think, dead even last I checked in the sports book. So I really think if Cal hits 60, he wins it. I just don't know if he's going to hit 60 bombs. I feel like writers can't ignore the 60 number.
They'll probably give it to him. I've kind of accepted that he's going to win it. I think voter fatigue's a factor.
There's also the chance, this is kind of off topic a little bit, but what happens, too, if Judge gets caught by Wilson from the A's? He's only like 7 points behind Judge right now in batting average. So if you get that 60 from Cal and Judge doesn't lead the league in average, I think even though that shouldn't hurt him, theoretically what somebody else who's not in this conversation does, it could.
Yeah, it's the closest MVP race there's been in years, so at least there's some intrigue there. James, we're out of time, man, but appreciate you hopping on after class, man. Always a good time.
Of course. Thanks for having me on.
Philip, thanks to you as well for your work behind these scenes for this program. And we'll be together again tomorrow at 12 noon. It'll be game day. We'll have our regular show then. We'll also have the pregame show from 4 to 6:30 as well. Be sure to tune into the Logan Zone tonight at 5 o'clock with the Thursday game. We'll see you tomorrow at 12 noon on game day. Thanks for
This has been Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo. Get a recap of this show at 94.